On March 25th, we will get one of the most highly anticipated boxing matchups of the year in the super middleweight division, as David Benavidez and Caleb Plant will go toe to toe. Stylistically, it has the potential to be a brilliant encounter. Benavidez has the aggressive swarmer-like style with quick, powerful hands that can end a fight early, while Plant is a skilled boxer who will look to use his jab and counterpunching and speed to outmaneuver his opponent. In today's tactical overview video, I'm going to take a look at how we got here, how both men may approach the fight, and the areas that could be exploited on both sides, along with my final thoughts. So on that note, let's get right into it. With both being in the super middleweight division, there was always going to be natural competition between the two fighters. However, it was a scuffle in a gym 5 years ago between the Benavidez family and Plant's team that really kicked off the hate between the two. Since then, both men have become world champions and lost their titles in different ways, as Canelo would go on to become the king of the 168-pound division. After Plant lost to Canelo in a well-fought fight, the natural selection for Alvarez would be Benavidez, surely. However, Canelo had other plans, instead deciding to take a deal with the Zone to fight Dimitri Bivol and Triple G one last time. And he even made it clear that those other top champions at 168 pounds had to fight each other before getting their shot at the king.
But they need to fight each other too, because they just waiting for me because they want a good payday. So I know that, but they need to fight each other. Why? And I fight the winner of all of them.
With boxing, sometimes we can get too caught up in fights having to be for a world title. However, occasionally we just need to see the other top contenders battle it out before they prove their worth for a title shot, instead of protecting undefeated records for years on end. And with the announcement of this fight, we finally will get a huge fight that fans have been calling out for years. But now, let's take a look at how both men should approach this fight and exploit each other's weaknesses. Let's start off with Plant. A record of 23-1 and 13 KOs, you could argue that he has one of the best pure boxing styles in the sport. But the 30-year-old from Nashville, Tennessee is a fierce competitor and had 3 good defences as the IBF champion. And although some will say he has pillow hands, some would beg to differ.
Anybody can sum it up. Agreed.
But what does he need to do to win this fight? Well, Plant is best and most comfortable when boxing on the back foot, and like most of us expect, he will no doubt look to get behind his lead hand and wait to counter when the opportunity arises. I expect Benavidez will of course look to close off the ring and trap Plant in the corners, similar to Canelo's approach, and you will need to be ready to either counter with the right hand or setting up a check left hook before immediately moving out to the left. In the Canelo fight, he was guilty of sticking too long in the pocket on the ropes and corners, and of course this led to opportunities for Canelo to land some big power punches that would fatigue Plant over time. However, in his most recent fight versus Durrell, we saw a much more confident Plant in terms of battling it out in the centre of the ring, mainly by using his jab to control and manage the distance before looking to set up sudden attack combinations out of nowhere to keep his opponent off balance, by mainly shuffling forward with a 1-2-3 sequence of punches, with each blow following each other naturally, while Plant also likes to use high-low sequences and vice versa to keep opponents guessing and create openings. And when he did get trapped in the corners, he would look to quickly use waist movement and move out to his right and clench instead of trying to stay stationary. If Caleb can use these tactics, he might be able to keep David at bay at times, from rushing to close the distance, or he'll get countered. And most of Plant's higher profile opponents have been caught out by him doing this, and I expect him to also really target the body of Benavidez, but it's all about continually changing the variation of the lead hand, making sure to probe, feint, set up through level changes, and using lead hooks. it's all about variation of Plant's lead hand for me. Just think of Mayweather versus Corrales, for example. Stylistically, this was quite a similar fight, as Floyd was facing the bigger fighter and pretty much had to use and change his lead hand variation all the way throughout the fight, which would therefore cause indecisions and openings for Mayweather over time. If you look at Benavidez' guard, for the most part, he will leave a slight gap for a straight body shot, but Plant can't overly target this area, as David usually uses this to counter you himself, as he knows his opponents aim to do this. While he's also very versatile at changing the guard so he can counter you himself, but that's not to say it doesn't bother David, and I feel Plant will need to adjust to this quickly and take opportunities to use those punch flurries to attack up top or to the body when the gaps present themselves. However, as much as Plant has the skill set to win this fight by outboxing, it takes a lot of energy to fight this way for 12 rounds, and he will need to be in his best possible condition to win, and also not take too much damage early in the fight, as this could contribute to gas out and slow down, leaving openings for Benavidez. Now for David Benavidez, he is by far the more aggressive and bigger puncher going into this, with many feeling he can knock out Plant, including himself.
I'm gonna really push for the early knockout. I'm really gonna push for it. I feel like this is pay-per-view, you have to. I'm taller, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, and I'm faster. And I punch from every angle. So March 25th, we're coming.
He is most comfortable when he's on the front foot applying pressure, but he does like to take his time to pick his shots, usually by waiting to block, catch, or dodge an opponent's punch before pitching back with powerful counterpunches and quick fire combinations. He basically wants to make sure he connects when he throws, and this is very evident when you look at some of his punch stats, as his overall total connect percentage is very high at 38.4%, while he also has a very underrated and heavy jab landing 6.8 per round, which often connects too. But it's his power punching that usually does the damage and connects. If he does time and hurt you, this is where he will start to really get to work by closing off the ring. It's here he will look to block your escape with those famous quick combinations, especially by limiting their escape to the right by throwing heavy left jabs and double left hooks, which in turn forces the opponent to have to move left into a powerful right hand. With Plant, he is someone who does prefer to move to his right, so it will be interesting to see if he can keep off the ropes long enough to stop being trapped there, and I suspect he will look to try and counter Benavidez with the right hand as he comes into range, or use an uppercut when he is on the inside. However, Benavidez in this position is superior to Plant when it comes to inside fighting in my opinion, and I very much suspect this will be the aim of David and his team to take Plant into the deep waters and see if he can handle the pace and physicality on the inside. In terms of what he does on the inside, it includes a lot of framing and use of the forearm to hold the fighter in position before quickly using powerful wide hooks, right hands and uppercuts, while it also helps to smother and trap them in the ropes for longer for him to throw more punches at them. While if he's at a mid-distance, he will like to sometimes switch stance by throwing a lead right hand before quickly shifting with his left hook, and the transfer of weight from the right hand naturally creates more force from the hook, which therefore can be a lethal setup against someone that uses the shoulder roll Philly shell stance. For me, it's all about David pushing and trapping Plant on the ropes, but he will need to be careful coming into range, as there's been too many glimpses of him taking unnecessary shots, and he can't afford to let the emotions of looking for the knockout come into play, or he could just run into something. So he really can't underestimate Plant's power. This fight promises to be an explosive encounter between two of the best fighters behind Canelo in the super middleweight division. Now, as you probably saw from the press conference, both these men do not like each other. Trash talking is a common behaviour that can foster rivalry and motivate both constructive and destructive behaviour. And mentally for both men, I feel this could play into the fight. We've seen this all too often over the years, with one fighter getting ahead of himself and focusing on the emotions wanting the knockout, instead of focusing on a constructive performance to tactically be on point to get the win, regardless if it's a KO or points victory. As much as what they do in the ring stylistically and tactically, whoever can keep to the game plan and be in the best condition, in my opinion, will win this fight. This is very much a pick'em type fight, and I can see this fight going both ways. Plant using his boxing and technical skills for a 12-round decision, or Benavidez being able to trap Plant in the corners and land his quick powerful punches to get the KO. All will be revealed very soon. This has been Jamie from Boxing Life. Hope you enjoyed this tactical overview. Make sure to let me know in the comments below who you think will come out on top. I'd love to know. As always, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the fight, and I'll see you in the next one.